Hey guys, this is DevTigris, and in this tutorial I'm going to demonstrate how React works at its very basic level. Now, I also hope that you already have some basic JavaScript experience. The first thing you want to do is to create a application container. I'm going to use a div block. I'm going to call it root for no particular reason. This means that our React application is going to render everything into this element. Now, the basic building block of any React application is the React element. So let's go ahead and create one. I'm going to create a variable called p. I'm going to use a React object and its method create element. And here we want to specify the name of the HTML tag. In this case, I'm going to create a simple paragraph tag. So I'm going to use the p to indicate that this is the HTML p paragraph tag. Next thing, I'm going to give it a class. And notice here we're using class name instead of class because class is a reserved keyword in JavaScript, so we cannot use that. I'm going to give it just a name. And whatever goes in here in the third argument is going to be located within that element. So, hello there. I'm going to close this. And so we have just created an HTML element p, give it a class name, and within it there's going to be a simple string hello there. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to refer to the root element from React, and I'm going to create another variable. I'm going to get element by ID. I'm going to use root. And so we have just grabbed an object referring to this whole element by its ID. And now that we have done that, we're actually ready to start rendering this element in our application right there. So how do we do that? In order to do that, we use the ReactDOM object. And we use the render method, and this render method takes 3 arguments. The first one is going to be our element that we have just created here. So we're going to go p, and render needs to know where to render. So this is the render target, and we have just grabbed it right here. So I'm going to specify root. That means that this element is going to be rendered within right here. And finally, and this is optional, you can use an arrow function to output some kind of a message. We have just rendered this paragraph. So I'm going to close this. And we have just rendered this p element that we have created entirely in a JavaScript statement without having to type it in HTML. And by using this render method, we're going to render it right here. And so I'm going to refresh the browser and see what happens. What actually just happened is that we rendered a p element whose class name is name, and that has hello there inside it. So that's exactly what this JavaScript statement has done. And there's also another thing about React that I really like is that somewhere in Babel.js there's a Jsx Transpiler. And what it does is that it helps us to write HTML tags directly into our JavaScript code. And that's really interesting because we can rewrite this entire statement into HTML format. And I'll show you how that's done. Basically, what you have to do is just simply start typing HTML directly into your JavaScript statement. Hello there from JSX. And I'm going to close this tag with a semicolon. And by the way, as long as you have Babel added right here, this is a completely legal JavaScript statement from now on. And that's just how Jsx Transpiler works. Essentially, what we have done, we have just moved out our p tag from our HTML into a JavaScript statement. And then we have rendered it by referring it from render function. When you create statements like these using JSX and HTML tags, React actually thinks of them as React elements in the same way that we have created one earlier using the createElement function. So to React, it makes no difference whether you're using JSX or the createElement method. And that's what gives us this ability to type HTML directly into a JavaScript statement. So I'm going to refresh this again just to make sure that it works. And so as you can see, it changed hello there from JSX. So it's accurately rendering this p tag in our application container. And that's done again by render method right here. You might be wondering, why are we taking HTML out of our HTML into our JavaScript statement? And that's going to be explained in my next tutorial. So thank you for watching, guys. I hope this cleared some fog in terms of what React is like, what it's like to program with it. This is a very basic example, and I hope to see you in my next tutorial where I'll show you some practical examples. Thanks for watching.